Fertility Tip Tuesday. This is one of the most, I think, important conversations that we're about to have. Dr. Raquel is going to join me to talk about why we have a bone to pick with the idea that you can just stay positive. It's a sentiment that so many people told me when I was going through cancer. They had the best of intentions. So many people talk about just stay positive when you're going through infertility treatment. And it's something that is absolutely impossible to stay in any emotion. And so Dr. Raquel and I are going to kind of debunk this whole idea of staying positive while going through something as traumatic, as difficult as an infertility journey or any health journey. Here she's coming right now. Yes, we're going to go live with the Fertility Advantage and the fabulous Dr. Raquel, who's become such a dear friend and such an amazing colleague. We have so much great content that we've pushed out for you guys on Fertility Tip Tuesdays, and we always want to curate it in a way that really works for you. So when you hop on these lives, make sure that you're just being really vocal with the questions that you're asking. We try to get to all the questions during one episode, but we also curate content and customize content based on what we're getting from you, which is why we love coming on here. So she'll be here any second. It's waiting for the Infertility Advantage. It's one thing that I feel like Instagram Live can do a little bit better, right? They can connect us faster. They've got to really invest in that. I'm like, she's coming. I can see it. It's like a tease.
I was like, wait, what's happening?
I know. Oh my gosh. Make sure you turn me down on your computer on your Zoom because I can hear myself back. We don't want everybody else to hear too. Okay. So Raquel and I started kind of riffing a little bit over text message a couple weeks ago. Now, first of all, I want to acknowledge we didn't have this Fertility Tip Tuesday last week. Totally my fault because I didn't even realize it was Tuesday. And 4 o'clock came and went, and Raquel texted me and she was like, are we doing Fertility Tip Tuesday? And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know it was Tuesday. I mean, I wish I could blame it on the pandemic. I feel like we're in one long, never-ending day this year. But sorry, guys, we missed you last week, but we did carve out this awesome show. So, Raquel, to start off, what do we hate the most about just stay positive?
Just stay positive is not... The reason why it is so infuriating is because it's not a real emotion. It doesn't truly reflect what you are going through in the moment. And so it honestly, it takes away from that moment of being able to really feel what it is you're feeling. So to me, it makes me so angry, just like hearing someone say it, because It's like, I am a human having an experience. Right. And whatever emotion comes up is the one that I'm supposed to reflect right now.
And it's valid. Whatever emotion that you have in that moment is completely 100% valid. Mm-hmm. So what I hate about it is that it's expressing, Julia, you're so right. Any sentence that begins with the word just is so triggering. I mean, it's infuriating. Like, just get rid of just. Yeah. You like exactly. That word, if you put that word in front of any sentence, it's going to have a negative response. I can't think of any version of starting with the word just that is going to be good. And that is part of the problem. We're not robots. And I love how you just framed it, Raquel, that it really isn't even a named emotion, positive. My son and I are taking Spanish class together. So I know, it's so cute and fun. We're learning feelings and how to say actual feelings so that when the teachers come on our class and they say, ¿Cómo estás? We have to name our feeling. Are we feliz? Are we feeling happy? Are we not? And I love it because it reinforces how important it is to actually name your feelings.
Yep. Because it's so important. And I remember specifically like being in medical school and feeling just so overwhelmed and just feeling angry and sad. And I remember at the time I had like this amazing therapist, and that was the one thing that she really was very adamant about, is feeling your emotions, because when we suppress them, they manifest through different things like disease or chronic illness and so many things. Like our body literally, it reflects whatever we're suppressing. So
okay, so big moment of honesty right here. The number one feeling I try to suppress the most is fear.
Oh,
it's fear. And boy, there's been a lot of stuff to be afraid of this year, right? Yeah. So that's my biggest thing, is that when I'm feeling actual fear, I go into fight or flight mode really fast.
Yeah.
And so I either want to, stop the fight or flight mode. That's what we do, right? With like real emotions, when you let them wash over yourself, when you're like fully in them. And you see this with kids all the time. Here we are all trying to be moms. Yeah. And I do use a lot of kid analogies because I went through fertility preservation. I went through a frozen embryo transfer. I'm so delighted for all the trials and tribulations that I've had with my almost 7-year-old, which is crazy to think that I have a 7-year-old. I can't even believe that. Through this journey. So really, I've been in like a 13-year fertility journey. And when I think about all the emotions that have gone into that, and I see my son reflect back emotions, they're over so fast, right? Sydney Chick, oh, her emotions are making me cry. Yes, but that's good. Yeah, that's good. Healthy. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're crying, you're releasing. One of the most important moments of my life as a parent was my son, when he was an infant, really didn't have newborn cry all that much. And when he did have it, I was so quick to respond that my pediatrician pointed out. He said, just hold him and not try to solve it.
Oh, I love that.
Because he has his own journey and he has to release.
Wow, I love that.
If he's not hungry, if he's not tired, if he's not poopy or gassy, then maybe just let him release. And it was so important because, like Sydney Chick, your emotions are making you cry. Crying, to me, is such a healthy expression. It's such a healthy sign because you're fully letting yourself release.
And it's so important. I'll never forget, again, most of my experiences were in med school, but I remember being
much of your life, Raquel.
I know so much of my life. And I remember being on a psych rotation, and the doctor at the time was weaning the patient off of psych meds and just helping her like utilize different supplements and different things to kind of wean herself off. Amazing. And the one thing that she reported when he knew that she was better, and it sounds so crazy, but she was watching Grey's Anatomy and she was able to cry. She was like, I cried so hard. Yeah, it was like a cathartic kind of cry, just like letting everything out. And not only were her meds suppressing her ability to really express emotion, but it just went to show that when she came in, she felt like a weight, like a veil was lifted off of her because all of those emotions were being suppressed for so long. So I agree, like letting it out is so important.
I can relate to that because I do tend to pick movies after my son goes to sleep that will trigger tears because I think that I naturally just sort of keep it together all the time. And I like those movies that allow me to sort of deeper process and kind of release. Jasmine Bakes Cakes. Oh, I love that you admitted this because this is such a big one and this one might make me cry. Sometimes I can't get past my anger about the fact that I have to do IVF. It's hard to feel excited about the potential of having a baby. I totally get that. And the anger associated if your insurance doesn't even pay for it. Yeah. And anger, like unreleased anger, like can create some real gnarly stuff inside, right? Yeah. And that is one that and I think that some of us are raised within a environment where anger is bad or wrong, and it's not. Yes. There are such healthy expressions of anger to be able to release it and get through it. And we're not therapists. We don't, we are not experts in this area. We just wanted to talk about it. Yeah. We just wanted to have this super open dialogue about like, how do people express anger in a healthy way, right? Yeah. How do we express real emotions in a healthy way?
And you would be surprised. Well, you would not be surprised, but I was very surprised to learn when I knew I wanted to be in the fertility space that fertility is a very male-dominated field. That literally blew my mind because you would think that it would be more women, but it's not. And that's one thing that I noticed is that a lot of women, when they leave the rooms, they're so emotional, and I can just see it on their faces. They want to collapse and cry and just completely like succumb to the emotion. But the doctor's like, okay, so next, we'll try again in a month. Like, let's just keep, instead of taking a moment to say, this was hard.
Yeah.
What just happened was hard.
And that's enough sometimes.
That's enough.
This is hard. That empathy expression of like, let's be in this feeling for a moment before we run on to the next thing and get through the next checklist. That moment can be so powerful between two people. Yeah. It's like this year has been really hard for everybody. There's not a person out there that this year is not hard for. Okay. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And you add plus you have to do IVF on it. And I mean, look, I'm trying to do a second frozen embryo transfer too. And I'm trying to figure out, when am I even going to do it in my dang schedule?
Yeah.
You know, and I have been stopped by like the extra protocols and how much harder it is. I can't just like get in the car. There was a moment this morning, my son wanted to get a donut and he ate a good high protein breakfast. So I was like, all right, let's go get you a donut before my workday gets out of control. And we get in the car and we forgot our masks. And I was like, dang it, for like 5 seconds, COVID didn't exist.
Yep.
You know, it was great. So, you know, there are lots, I feel like our emotions are closer to the surface this year.
Yep.
We have never before in our lives been faced with so many things all at one time. And so for those of us who are still on this infertility journey, it's like too much.
Yeah. You
know,
infertility still exists within everything else that's going on, which just is even more reason to really take the time to look and see how do I really feel? Like, instead of saying like, well, there's worse things going on in the world, or this is happening. What's happening with you is also important. And if you aren't any good for yourself, then how can you help the world? How can you help people around you? So you do have to like take the time to acknowledge yourself and see like, wow, I'm not feeling so good today, or I feel overwhelmed. Like really feeling those emotions, writing them down so that you can feel them and then be able to let it go and move on with your day.
Yeah, Sydney, you bring up such a really good point. Her morning sickness is really bad. You know, she went through IVF, and so we also take all those extra hormones. And it's hard to know, is my experience normal for like all pregnant people, or is it worse because I took all these extra hormones? I remember somebody who, super old school, a lot older than me, male. It's not because he's male that maybe he said this, but he said something that I'll never forget that I didn't like. And I was like complaining about how awful I felt, and that I spent all these years, like this was the only thing that I could even fathom was being pregnant. I'm finally pregnant, and it was miserable. First trimester was so hard. I was like, gosh, why didn't anybody tell me it was going to be this hard? Why didn't anybody tell me I was going to be so tired or so sick or so anything, right? And he was like, well, you got what you asked for. This is what you wanted, didn't you? And I was like, no, you didn't. And I thought, okay, I can just be a regular pregnant person who can acknowledge the fact that I'm living in a non-pregnant world and it's first trimester and all of these side effects and everything is hitting me all at once. Like, give me at least a minute. You know? Just a minute.
Exactly. No, I remember my classmate, and then it actually ended up happening to another one of my friends, but they had like, I think it's called like hyperemesis gravida, where you just like
it's horrifying.
And it's just like, I wanted to be pregnant, but this is also very hard. Like, I shouldn't be like shamed or be made to feel guilty because I made a decision to have a baby. Like, it's a part of the process, so I can feel whatever emotion I want.
That's right. Yeah. Sydney keeps a journal. I think that helps so much. I think journaling is really important. Well, I want to hear from the audience too. I mean, what are some emotions that you try to cover up or you try to avoid, or you are the, I don't like that icky emotion, so I don't want to go find a place where I can like just feel it. You know, when I feel anxiety, I have lots of tools in my toolkit. And so I don't mind anxiety so much. Fear is different for me than anxiety. So anxiety, I can go do a downward dog. I can go upside down on my yoga trapeze. You know, I have lots of tools in my arsenal. I can tap, you know, if anybody doesn't do that, I love tapping. I love it. So, you know, there are points, you know, that you can do for anxiety, but for me, fear, like really deep rooted, are we going to be okay? Fear is a lot harder for me to sit with because my parasympathetic nervous system is like hardwired for fight or flight. And so when I see, now I don't mind the fight. People who know me long time know that like I'll dig in, you know, I will fight, but that's not a pleasant place to be, right? You don't want to go through life in either or mode because it's extreme. Exactly. So I would love to hear from people, comment on like, what are those emotions? We have Crystal who said, yes, too much. She had her 12th IVF retrieval today. Oh, God bless your heart.
No, that's tough.
Woman, do you know how much endurance you have in life? Oh my gosh. Like, let's just honor Crystal right now for the fact that you have so much fortitude that I can't even name on one hand 5 people I know that could endure 12 IVF retrievals. You're amazing. You're amazing. Yeah. You're amazing.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And what she's expressing is that she feels disappointed in her body. God, I can relate to that. Wow. Oof, I can relate to that. And Raquel and I have talked a lot about showing ourselves more grace. And I love that you came to that conclusion for you too, Crystal. Praying for all in this journey. Thank you. That's so thoughtful, so sweet. I have chills like head to toe on what you've been through. Yeah. And I feel I'm a breast cancer survivor, Crystal. And so when I was going through all of this, I felt like, gosh, why is my body failing me? That was a big thing. I was 31 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I've been living without any reconstruction done for the last few years. And there are, and then yes, chemo left me sterile. And so I could blame the medical system, but it's still my body. It's still my body that feels like it's letting me down. And there's been a lot of aftermath of even going through chemo that has left like kind of long-term consequences. And I'm like, come on, it's been long enough. This is a negative voice. It's been long enough. Like, you should be fine. Like, it still shouldn't impact you. And accessing the grace, to like accessing the other side of the voice. It's like, I love you, Alice.
Yep.
You're beautiful. Mm-hmm. You're strong. You got this, right? Yeah. So I'd love to hear too from you, Crystal, and from others. Like, what does grace look like when it does show up, when you are treating yourself with grace? I would love to hear about that because I think we all need ideas. Yeah. I think none of us have it completely dialed in and figured out. And sometimes our old toolkits kind of run their course and we need new toolkits. Yeah. Crystal, anytime you need to hear it, reach out. You're my hero right now. I know. I mean, I'm so touched. I say it on so many of these episodes, like people who even do 6 and 7 retrievals. I don't have that fortitude. And I just, oh my God, amazing. I'm talking too much. Okay, Lakey, sorry. Yes, Raquel, talk.
No,
Lakey said Alice is talking too much. You got it. Yeah, Raquel, talk about like your experiences more.
No, I think it's important to, whenever someone has been through a traumatic experience, which cancer is something that no one can put in a box or fully understand. So to me, you are relating to her in a way that other people could not. No, she did not have to go through your journey, but you have a very specific take. And something I've learned, especially as a woman in medicine and constantly being over talked by men or whatever the experience may be, sometimes you just need to listen.
Right.
And in that moment, I needed to listen to you because you have been through something that is very traumatic and you're very strong. So you work through it, you walk through it, you talk about it, and you just keep going. But I think for a moment, we do have to just pause and just also extend grace to you because you have also been through something that was very hard. And in some moments when you can't relate or you haven't had that experience, the best thing to do is listen.
Yeah.
And so for Crystal, I think that,
I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I was just saying for Crystal.
Called out for talking too much.
No, I was just saying for Crystal, I think her hearing you, I feel like made her feel like, wow, other people have also been through things that took endurance. Yeah. So that's why I think it was important for you to talk in that moment, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I think that part of like showing ourselves grace is showing each other grace, right? Because we find those shared commonalities. When I was going through treatment, I would have friends say like, oh, I don't want to talk to you about what I'm going through in life because I just feel like, well, it's not cancer. And I'd constantly say like, it doesn't matter where you're at, because your feelings are the same as mine. Whatever you're dealing with, your feelings are actually the same. So we have more commonalities to discuss than we do differences.
Exactly.
So Allie Wren is doing her trigger shot tonight for her second IVF retrieval. And she is anxious, excited, and sad all at the same time. And isn't that also the beauty and complexity of being human?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's all at the same moment.
Yeah. And to me, it's so beautiful because although it does come with a lot of baggage and associated like fear with it, it's a sign that you're alive and you get to have this experience. Like that's the only way to fully grasp like what you're going through and not allow it to overwhelm you, is think like, wow, I am living. Like, I have breath in my body. I have a pulse. Like, I can afford to do these things. Like, I am producing a family from this. I have a supportive partner. Whatever it may be is what I have found when I feel all of those emotions, is trying to find like the beauty in other things. That's helped me for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we have a new partner in the network of Fertility Answers in Barbados. So Barbados IVF, which Barbados is, for those of you who don't know, they've only had 10 COVID cases for the whole month of September. I know. It's like COVID doesn't even exist there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I love that so much. And they have this great program for Americans where you get to go for up to 12 months just with a stamp to work there remotely if you need to. And so 80% of their IVF cycles right now are Americans who are like, sign me up. I want the holiday in Barbados. I can work anywhere. And they actually are seeing people's stress level plummet because they're away from COVID. They're away from the pandemic. They're away from their day-to-day. Wow. And they're getting such good egg retrievals on the first retrieval that they're able to only do like 1 or 2 frozen embryo transfers, get people pregnant, and then when they're ready to get out of the luxurious environment of the Caribbean Sea and kind of the lower stress. And it's anecdotal. I don't know their exact numbers, but that's what we're hearing from them. And I get it. Right? I mean, it's so stressful going through infertility treatment that if you can go through it, and it's also incredibly, I mean, this particular program is much cheaper. I mean, their medications come from Europe, so it's only $2,000 really on average for meds alone, which is nuts, right? I mean, that's nuts. Yeah. That's a huge savings just in the IVF drug prices in the US. So I think that there's lots of paths to this journey, but right now there's some really incredible clinics that are trying to innovate for our community to make it more accessible to them, to make it more affordable. I just love that though, because it's like,
I love that.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? I mean, what you do for people to reduce their stress, just even through nutrition.
Yeah, because stress is huge. Like I know earlier today you said that
today's Tuesday.
I know, it's like, wait,
I remind myself all day, today is Tuesday.
I was laughing so hard at that message, but no, it's like fight or flight. When you are afraid to take a test, when you are afraid about anything, your body can't tell if you are afraid of just a simple thing or if you're being chased by a bear. Your body responds in the same way. And so when this happens, especially during a fertility cycle, your body is not thinking about conceiving. It's actually thinking the opposite. Like it's literally telling your body, okay, this person is in fight or flight. She's afraid. So this is not the ideal time for conception. Yeah. So it literally shunts blood away from your reproductive organs. So that's why it is so important to have resources like the one in Barbados, or just personal resources to just help your body just calm down.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh my gosh, exactly. Yeah. That's 1985. I love to see you on a regular basis. So great to have you join us again. I love that. She had morning sickness for almost 14 weeks, but she thought it was acid reflux because she had done 10 years of infertility treatment and found out she was pregnant.
No way.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I hear these types of stories all the time.
That's so cool.
That is so cool.
I love hearing stories like that.
I know. I'm glad. Oh, look at John. John joined. Hi, Dr. Norian. It's so good to see you. We love doing these. So what other emotions and coping mechanisms too, for those of you who are, in the throes of it, besides journaling, what are some other strategies that you use to feel all the feelings, to release the stress? How are you coping with, things all at once where it feels like an avalanche of fear, yet excitement? Before basketball games, my dad used to say that excitement and anxiety were two halves of the same coin, because I'd always come to him and be like, I'm really nervous about this game. And he'd say, well, that's the same coin as excitement. So just like choose to focus on, the excitement part rather than the anxiety part. Which is so hard with IVF. I mean, look, especially when you're paying for it, right? I mean, here's the reality. We go into it like this we feel like this needs to work because we don't want to keep paying for it. Yeah. So, I mean, that's the reality that we're all facing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always say, look, I know it's an added cost or an extra cost, but trying to find like a really good therapist to me is a life changer for anyone at any time in life.
I agree.
Especially when you're going through fertility, because there are so many emotions that your partner or your family or even your doctor might not understand that you have, that could be something you went through in childhood or trauma you went through in another time in your life that might not make sense to other people. And so you really do have to, you know, find an outlet. I know one thing that my therapist always tells me, and especially in the age of COVID where everything is virtual now, is to still find a routine.
That's
still
right.
Develop a routine and commit to it and commit to yourself. So if that's just going to walk for 5 minutes or doing a quick like yoga or meditation from YouTube or something, like having a routine is great.
I agree. Sydney, she's crying now. Oh, I wish I could give you a big hug. It does come in waves. I mean, in that first trimester, I mean, look, I can sit in my car by myself, which doesn't happen very often these days because I don't have in-home childcare. But if I sit in my car and I think about my son who I had through IVF going off to college, oh, I'll cry. If there's a song on the radio that makes me think about him in the future, I start crying too. So yes, I mean, you're newly pregnant, you're in the thick of it, Sydney. It is gonna feel like waves, and that's exactly how, you know, what we're trying to have a conversation about is just letting it wash over you. Yeah. You know, being okay with like, okay, I'm just gonna sit and be in this. You're not wallowing. You are not. You're just feeling. Yeah. Like feel it all. Like you are on. I remember somebody said to me when my son was even born. She said, "Doesn't it feel like the world is in Technicolor?" And I loved that because that's exactly what it was like. Like everything was so suddenly vibrant. And I kind of feel like that's part of this too, is that everything's heightened when you're going through IVF, when you're going through the infertility journey, like everything, like we said, it's like right there at the surface. And yes, everybody can say that it's going to pass, but right now it's not. Right now you're in it.
Right now we're here.
Right now we're here and you're feeling it and we're feeling it with you. And it's just, that's the hardest part. There are a lot of really good meditation apps though, and there's some that are specific to infertility. We will find those resources and make sure that we post them for you guys. Hey, Alex, it's great to see you, my friend. Old friend Alex that joined. We love you too, at 1985. I love seeing you come every week. Acupuncture helped with anxiety and stress. Oh God, I love acupuncture.
Oh, love acupuncture.
I love
it. It's a life
so
changer.
Much. It is.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to marry somebody who's an acupuncturist so they can just do it whenever I need it.
It's
I especially
amazing.
can tell here. Yeah. I like need it right here. The
It's
relieving.
amazing.
The relief.
I know. Yeah. I know. I'll never forget, I had very horrible sleep issues in med school, which was probably just because of school. And I was doing a fellowship at the time. And I would wake up every morning like clockwork at 4 or 5 a.m. I did like sleep studies, did everything. Tried to take sleeping medicine. Nothing helped except acupuncture. After like 3 visits, I remember going in and I was sweating so hard after they put all the points in that like sweat was dripping off of the bed.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
And so all of that energy, I guess it was just like being released, and I've never had sleep problems since then.
Wow, I love stories like that.
I love acupuncture. I love it.
Raquel, isn't the 4 a.m. time slot? There's a couple of things at 4 a.m., right? Doesn't your adrenaline start rising at 4?
So that's definitely an acupuncture note. I'm not sure, but I do know that there are like different times correlated with different like things.
Your stress hormones. Body. Yeah, like your cortisol and your adrenaline. Because I used to wake up without an alarm clock at 4:30 every morning. I just go to work. That was like my wake up time. And really? I didn't know that it was actually not normal. I was just like, well, that's when my body wants to wake up, so I'll start work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I learned later that like, oh, that might be a red flag. Like you actually should have more sleep. But I just adjusted my sleep schedule so that I could wake up at 4:30 and go to work. So I mean, I'm wide awake, like no needing coffee or anything. Yeah. So Carla, she's going to have a laparoscopy, hysteroscopy surgery to remove a polyp. And when do you recommend trying IUI or IVF after that procedure? That's usually something that the IVF doctor would have a protocol for. Does any of the docs that you work with have a written protocol? Or that would probably be a great question to ask on the Fertility Answers app, because we have lots and lots of IVF doctors that could answer that. So I think that they probably have standard protocols. Carla, is your IVF doctor the one doing that surgery? Because not every IVF doctor does the surgeries.
Yeah.
We do have a great doctor in Arizona. It's a great practice that does do a lot of reproductive surgeries plus IVF. So if you hop on the app, one of the Ganalas, it's a mother-son practice, the only mother-son practice in the whole country, which is super cool. Which I love it. That's my little one interrupting us. Hi, Dante. Everybody say hi to Dante. And yeah, they're fantastic. And so come on the Fertility Answers app. It's on iOS and Android. Ask that question because I think they're going to be really suited to be able to answer it. Yeah, and then you'll have some folks who can even upvote. Carla did 3 IUIs and didn't work, and she's 38. So yeah, Carla, that's standard. That is the unfortunate thing, right? That IUIs have a lower success rate, especially for those of us who are older than 35, and I'm 44. So, it's always up to you how many IUIs you want to give it a go for, but IVF is definitely more successful. Dr. Serena Chen on our Monday Motivations talks about that a lot. About you have to know in your own heart, like when are you ready to go ahead and move on to IVF, but especially once we cross that barrier of 35 or that threshold, let's call it. It's not a barrier. It's not, that was a wrong choice of words. It's a threshold. It's a new awesome phase of life. And they use all kinds of horrible terminology in the medical community about what it means to be 35.
I know.
Any other advice on that, Dr. Raquel? I mean, if she's doing the IUI, she could probably, work with somebody like you, a naturopath, to just make sure that she's optimizing the attempts, right?
Yeah, I would definitely recommend wherever you live in your state to really look for a naturopathic doctor that's focused on hormones/fertility, because oftentimes there could be an underlying, maybe it's a micronutrient deficiency, maybe you've been exposed to a little bit of heavy metal somewhere, or there could be a slight hormone imbalance that you could work with a naturopathic doctor to get under control so that your next cycle is optimized. So I definitely recommend finding one in your area.
Okay, that's great advice. I love that. And some of the things that you do to even like clean up gut health, and I mean, it's just good for everybody anyway. So if she can access a naturopath, when she does get to the magical stage of a live, of pregnancy and a live birth, then working with somebody that's a naturopath can help you just like be ready for all of that. Where I feel like going into this second pregnancy for me, like when I do get to do that frozen embryo transfer, I'm so excited because I know a lot more things to do. There's more tools in my arsenal to make me like get through the nausea, get through, the fatigue and everything. Yeah. Now, Leslie, 4 months of stopping the pill and still no pregnancy, trying to conceive second child, 33 years old. Totally normal. We just did a whole show yesterday with Serena Chen on, stopping the pill. Some people can get pregnant right away. It takes other people 6 months. If it takes longer than 6 months, definitely get in to see an IVF specialist, because if you are dealing with secondary infertility, we want to be able to help you right away. So, but it's super normal that you haven't gotten pregnant in 4 months after stopping the pill. It does take the body a little bit of time to just sort of normalize and balance out. The other thing that she was recommending yesterday, and Dr. Raquel, Uva, there's a couple of ovulation confirmation products on the market. One is called Prove, one is called Uva, and they actually confirm if ovulation happened. So if you're having regular periods, you might want to, Leslie, check out one of those products to confirm that you actually are ovulating already. And then, given that you're 33, then it's a little bit of time. But I would say, we always advocate the sooner you get into an IVF specialist, the better.
Yep.
Without a doubt. Now, Lauren just asked an awesome question that Dr. Raquel can answer. Does acupuncture improve fertility, or is it just for stress purposes? Such a great question.
Such a great question. And I love that because I have looked at so much research regarding like acupuncture and fertility. And what the consensus is in research is that acupuncture helps to modulate your stress response. So because it helps to modulate your stress response and help your body better adapt to stress, this improves your fertility odds or your ability to have like a live birth, because now your body has better adapted to stress. And so a lot of times, acupuncturists, they do have like a lot of like theories and reasons why they believe it works, especially when it comes to like understanding energy and how our body like adapts to different things around us. But what the research has found is that the reason why it is so effective is because it really helps your body like better adapt to stress.
That's right. And remember, the stress hormone is cortisol, and cortisol can impact the values of those other hormones, right? Because they're all stress hormones.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that that's such an awesome question, Lauren.
It is.
Yeah, it is. And there's still mixed data on kind of, does it improve egg quality? So, there are people out there who practice acupuncture who say yes, but there's mixed data. So we'll just, throw it out there that we both love acupuncture.
Love it.
Yes. S. Jones, yes, there's so much pressure to celebrate other people's pregnancy and be positive even though you feel left behind. Yeah. What are some tips to be happy for others? That's a great question, because I don't think you can fake happiness for others. Like, I think that it goes to some of the other comments about extending grace to yourself, right? Dr. Raquel, how would you approach that?
It's so funny to hear this question, because I literally just talked about this with a patient and a friend.
Wow.
And it's because when we're going through our own battles or our own trauma, we don't really have the space to be happy for someone else. But my advice to you is to remember that whatever negative energy that we harbor or whatever resentment we harbor, it blocks our own blessings. So I will always say, even when we feel overwhelmed, to either not respond, not say anything, or just extend some grace. Just say congratulations, even if it's just a quick congratulations with a little emoji. Just really, to me, when you release that resentment and you release it and let it go, it kind of clears your space. But when oh, I'm not happy for them, and you just scroll past it or you don't say anything, it kind of builds up inside of you. And to me, I've been reading The Power of the Subconscious Mind. It really serves as a block from you receiving your own blessing or your own positive outcome. So I totally believe in just either not saying anything or not letting that resentment build up in you, and say, even though I wish this was me, I'm still going to say congratulations. I'm still going to say I'm happy for you, because that's their journey, and that's where they are in their life. Like, I have a really quick story. I had a really good friend in medical school, and she really struggled, and she had a single parent just like me. And she was just like, oh, this girl can go on all these trips, all these countries. She has all this money for all this stuff, XYZ. And she was like, but here we are struggling. We can barely afford our books, XYZ. Later, we found out that the reason she has so much money was because her mother died.
Wow.
And left her a lot of money. So it was like, would you prefer to have your mother still living and there's a sense of support, or would you rather have the financial resources? So it showed me to not compare my life or judge, because you don't know why the other person is in that place.
That is double, triple underscore, not comparing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably the most important strategy to S. Jones, is not comparing. I was in your exact same shoes. Now, I was diagnosed with cancer at 31 years old, and it felt like there was a pause button on my life for 3 years of treatment. And then there was 2 years where I unpaused the button. I just was scrambling to catch up with health and wellness and trying to restore my life, and I felt that overwhelming sense of I'm behind. People were married, people were having babies. They were on to second baby, third baby. I was none of the above. And I felt that so overwhelming feeling of how did I get so far behind, and it was really hard. And I remember I was literally in my 2-week wait, and I'd gotten 1 or 2 positive at-home pregnancy tests, even though they tell you not to test. I definitely was the cheater who tested every day. And that was the worst for me when they were don't test. God, that's impossible. In this day and age with Postmates and every other at-home delivery, forget about it. I can't, I'll have to sit on my hands. But I'll tell you, I got a text message from my brother, who's 4 years younger than me, and he and his wife were pregnant. And I was like, me too. And I wanted them to be as equally happy for me as they wanted me to be for them. And nobody was. Nobody was. Because I was pursuing this on my own.
Yeah.
And so I guess it's to say I empathize, I relate. Now, of course, everybody's, I'm 7 years in, right? And my son has amazing relationships with his aunts and uncles and my parents and his cousins. But I think that both can exist. I think that happy for somebody else can exist with sadness about yourself. I think it can exist at the same moment. Exactly. I think and I think that you can acknowledge where you're at and invite your friend to I don't, you know, whether it's sprinkle the pregnancy pixie dust in my direction, whatever that language is for you, ask for what you need in that moment. You know, ask for what you need. We know how hard it is. Gosh, we know. Carla, you're welcome for the responses. And I love seeing ha-ha-has because we like to be real on this and not perfect. Yeah. Sydney said she was lucky with IVF her first time when she was 33. She's still on, I think it's estrogen. Sydney confirmed because it typed utrogestin. So I'm guessing that's estrogen. How long do I need to stay on that for? I think that's probably going to be another IVF doc question. So Sydney, hop on the app and ask our IVF doctors that question. Just remember, everybody, we have multidisciplinary experts that are on the app to answer these types of medical questions too. Dr. Raquel is a naturopathic MD. She went to full medical training. She has all the pharmaceutical knowledge plus the nutrition knowledge. She specializes in fertility, but she reminds me all the time, kick that to an IVF doc.
Exactly.
Yep. Now, Genuinely Blessed has a question. She thinks that she has a hormonal imbalance. This can be a Dr. Raquel, definitely, area. Her husband and she have been trying it for 4 years with no luck. They both have children from a previous marriage. So that would squarely fall into secondary infertility, but it could be either one of them. Yep. It could be a combination of the two, right?
Yeah, I totally recommend being seen. If you could get into a fertility doctor to get a fertility workup to just show you where your hormones are, to see are you know, is your brain communicating with your ovaries every month to produce that follicle? Right. That's what it's telling you. And you also want to make sure you're getting a semen analysis for your husband, because even if you guys conceived before, the quality or quantity of his sperm could have reduced now. So you definitely want to get in to see a doctor as soon as you can.
And Genuinely Blessed, just let us know who to put you with. So we have doctors all over the world, most who offer free first consults. So just get in touch with us either through the Fertility Answers app on iOS or Android, and opt in for a fertility consult. We'll connect you with somebody who can do it. I mean, we really believe that you should get in as soon as humanly possible. You shouldn't have to struggle for 4 years. Now, since you both have other children, you've probably been really busy. And I think that 4 years goes by in a flash, right? But your secondary infertility is just as traumatic, especially if you guys, this is a new marriage and you want to build another part of your family together. How you're feeling about it is just as valid and it's just as important as people who are dealing with primary infertility. Yeah. Oh, you're awesome, Carla. Thank you for that. And thank you, Leslie. I love that. That's so sweet. Thank you, Lauren. Does endometrium, and did I say that right, Raquel? Endometrium.
The medicine.
The medicine. The medicine. Does it increase the chance of pregnancy? Does it increase the chance of getting pregnant?
So that's definitely going to be another fertility doctor question, because you have to figure out why did they give it to you? Because it can be given for so many different reasons. And so I would definitely see, hopefully you're not taking it just by yourself. Hopefully a doctor actually gave it to you. So I would actually ask whoever prescribed the hormone to me to say, like, is this to thicken my uterine lining in preparation for pregnancy? Or is this a hormone balance issue? It's more to figure out, like, why was it prescribed to you?
That's a great one. And you might, Mary, want to watch the episode from yesterday too, to see if there was anything that Dr. Serena Chen talked about as it relates to hormonal birth control as part of fertility treatment. Because there were some questions that got asked yesterday that were answered in that episode from yesterday. That's in the Instagram TV too. So this is awesome. All right. It looks like that's all of our comments and questions for today. We love being with you. We're so grateful for this community and for you all. We're here to say some of the things that are hard to say when you're sitting in front of the doctor, or in front of your friends, just like, don't tell me to stay positive. Don't put just in front of anything. Don't tell me to just relax. We don't want you to do any of that. We want you to show up here. We want you to be real. We want you to be yourselves, and like wherever you're at, we're here for you. Dr. Raquel, I love you. Thank you for this conversation. All right. And we'll see you next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday. I'll be here.
It's Fertility Tip Tuesday, and sending out lots of love to everybody in the middle of treatment or gearing up for treatment. And if you need anything, we're here for you. See you.
Bye.